All right, hello and welcome to 4315 with Jon and Meagan. Today we are speaking with Logan and Samantha, both organizers at Clever Octopus. So to start out, can one of you tell us what is Clever Octopus and what you folks do there or did there, as we'll get to?
It is a creative reuse center. It's basically a thrift store for art supplies. So people donate their old or on art supplies like half finished tubes of paint or old canvases, stuff like that. We reprice them at value and we resell them. So it kind of helps divert waste from landfills, all that good stuff, and goes to like people who maybe can't buy a full $8 tube of acrylic or oil paint. It kind of it's helps the community divert waste, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, like our niche in what we do is, being able to create that price point that isn't like capitalistic scheme of art supplies like oh, you can like start getting into painting if only you have like $35 to get all of the equipment. Like we do all of that for cheap.
Okay, so what was the actual spark that motivated the union? Because I saw that I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across this video.
We would like to talk with you briefly, and it cannot wait. This will only take a minute.
And it sort of shows Clever Octopus, and then it pans down, and y'all are standing out there in front of the building, and y'all are like reading this speech, and it was just incredible.
Today is July 13th, and we have less than an hour before the working day is over. This is a deadline for the demands we made on the morning of July 6th. We demand an apology within 24 hours, which we did not receive, and for you to voluntarily recognize the union that we are forming. The demands we ask for are fair and in good faith. We are hoping to enter communications with you directly, but by ignoring our demands, you have demonstrated that you will not negotiate with us directly. If you refuse to negotiate with us in good faith, we will take what steps are necessary. By 7 p.m. tonight, we expect to hear an answer to the question, will you voluntarily, formally recognize our union? Forming this union is for the good of the workers, for the good of this nonprofit, and for the good of this community. Thank you for your time.
And what actually brought you to that point?
So there were a lot of things that really brought us to that point. There were a lot of like stories and just general talk about stuff that admin was like up to and just stuff that admin had done and had not properly apologized for that just kind of ruminated among us.
Step in and say who admin is real fast.
Oh, yeah. So admin is like the administrative team that is, so it's us store staff on the bottom, then it was our two managers, and then admin on the top, which consisted of the executive director, the programs director, and whatever Jen's title is. But yeah, basically we had heard a lot of stories from a lot of different people about like just kind of things that they had said and like misgenderings and just kind of concerning and just disrespectful and things that they just said that were like they did not get held accountable for. And sometimes like people would try and like use the proper channels to try and like mitigate issues and to talk about it and to like get some like actual like closure out of these situations that made people uncomfortable and just felt and made people feel disrespected. But really, because of the power dynamic that admin has, where like I think 2 out of the 3 of them that have director titles and are also on the board of directors that like officially kind of runs Clever Octopus. So really, when one of the admin does something wrong, the other 2 admins would kind of just like take them out to lunch and then just call it a day and like nothing would really change. So what I would say was like the proper spark though was on May Day there was an event by the Salt Lake Community Mutual Aid folks out in Liberty Park, and we just saw a bunch of our fellow coworkers there, and we were like, hey, y'all are here too? Why haven't we started unionizing yet? Like we could really use it. And
right.
So, yeah.
That was just standing around in a circle being like, wow, this sucks for you too? Wow, it really sucks. Oh my goodness.
Oh, like an hour of just complaining about all of these stories we had about admin. So it all started, I would say, when Sherry had this meeting in the middle of our coworker Nora's exit interview, where basically she expressed concern about the fact that Shanna and Imogen, our managers at the time, she expressed concern about the fact that they put up pride flags up around the store and in the store window, and just made it a whole thing. I recently went back into the recording that they kept of that, and I have a direct quote from Sherry. I could send you the recording as well if you'd like. So Sherry Gibb directly said to my openly non-binary managers, I don't turn people away, whether it's a homophobe, whether it's a gun-toting whatever that walks through that door. If they want to come and be civil in my place of business, then I should be supportive.
My goal is to celebrate everybody that walks through that door.
Mm-hmm.
That's my responsibility as an executive director, is that I don't turn people away. And whether it's a homophobe, whether it's a gun-toting, whatever, that walks through that door, if they want to come and be civil in my place of business, I should be supportive of that customer. You know, can you be supportive of that customer? You know, that's what we have, that's the face that we get to honor.
Yeah.
Because you're honoring the organization. And so, yeah, personally, where can you take yourself?
I guess, like, sorry, I don't want to cut you off if you have any thoughts.
No,
to say.
you're good. You're good.
I understand that to a degree. I guess part of the reason I also like having the flags up is that if someone who is homophobic walks through the door and they see that, if they're okay being civil, then that is a symbol that our staff is going to clash with their values in some way. And that is saying that as an organization, we stand behind our staff, which I think is important, because if someone isn't cussing out our staff and they're just walking through and buying things, then that's not a problem for me, of course. But if they're going to, as soon as they see a staff's name tag, like, become hostile towards our staff because they see pronouns or they see that they're visibly queer, I think it's important to have a symbol of our support for them.
Okay?
And I think, like, yeah, if we want
Now,
to...
part of that is also internally supportive. If I'm up there and my pronouns are she, her, but someone walks through the door and immediately goes gaff and blah, 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 you know, I will support my staff. And so I'm not going to support the customer at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I support my staff. I'm just trying to find a balance here.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we've got pride flag front and center in the front window, right behind the register.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's the plan? What's the plan at the end of June? What were you thinking?
I was just figured we'd leave them up. I didn't really think too much of it.
Okay. Did you think of asking for approval?
I mean, no. They were already up by the time I got here, but I really I didn't think it would be a approval kind of thing, so I didn't
Yeah,
ask.
I was the one who put them up.
Okay, did you think of, did you need, you know, I'm going based on our anti-racism committee, based on the situations that we've come across in there. Was that something that you wondered, did it fit in that category?
To me, I didn't see it as something that needed approval, and I understand if that's different than the reality from what I took away from the discussions we've had in the past is that we let me put my thoughts together for a second. That we don't want to overstep what we're doing and portray ourselves as something we're not. We don't want to intrude in other spaces, but that when we can and when we have the resources to do so, that we want to show support and solidarity with people. And to me, like, doing that was about the same as setting up a display or something like that, where but to me, more meaningful than that, because it's providing that representation for our staff, and for me as well. Yeah, I guess that was my perspective. Yeah. And that, especially in a very LGBTQ environment, that I didn't necessarily feel represented by some of the displays and signs that we had. Like, I don't necessarily feel represented by the All Are Welcome sign. I think it's a great sign. I'm glad we have it, and I think it's important to have as a display of our intention to be welcoming. But to me, that's not saying gay people are not only welcome here, but like compose a solid portion of the people who work here. And so to me, it's not just about representing Pride Month, it's also about displaying who we are and being proud of it. Yeah. And showing that organizationally we value that part of our staff. So to me, it seemed like an obvious choice to do something easy and simple, like hanging up a few flags. Yeah. Because that's where I was coming from.
I'm trying to look at it from supportive as well as longevity. So when Shanna's burned out and is ready to be replaced, what if whoever takes on your role is not LGBTQ, but is supportive? Yep, we start, we may get, maybe it's someone from the refugee community, and the shift may change as far as staffing. How do we continue to show that support and keep keep a broad perspective with this? I hope I'm not literally frustrating you to death.
No, it's honestly just like the end of the day, and my brain is fried.
I'm just trying to find.
I just can't think of words.
Space here. I think this is something that probably needs to be talked about with admin managers as far as solution. For longevity purposes. Because if it becomes one flag, where do we put the one flag? Is it a 4x6 flag? Is it a 2x3 flag? All of this. And so, I'm just trying to look at it bigger. Sorry.
That's incredibly terrifying.
Well, no, it's it almost it makes me speechless, really, because God, Okay, I'm sorry. I'm about to start cussing. They fucking advertise on the website that they're LGBTQ friendly, okay? And then they have management turning around and telling you guys that you can't have pride flags up because you want to welcome in the homophobes. Like,
yeah, if we
It's
want to get
very bad.
I think let's get a little bit more into the pride flag thing as well. So Arthur, one of my dear friends, the former warehouse manager before Imogen. So we have two managers. We have the store manager, the warehouse manager, whatever. They gave us 4 pride flags to hang up around the store. One of them was in the front window. One of them was in the front room behind the register, hanging on the wall. One of them was in the hallway that was on the staff side of the building, so it would not be visible to the public. And another one was also hanging in the staff side of the warehouse, also not visible to the public. We also got a donation of several, like, Black Lives Matter,
Justice for Brianna.
and Bernardo, like, posters like that, which we had hung up in the middle room of the store. After the whole pride flag thing, in which Sherry interrupted an exit interview, like, said that absolutely awful statement to our managers, which that was the point where Shanna and Imogen put in their notice. They just could not keep doing that because, oh my god. That was also kind of the part of the reason I quit.
Yeah.
So Shanna and Imogen put in their notice. We had a fun little emergency union meeting that night because Shanna and Imogen pulled in every single staff person individually to tell them what was going on, which was a good choice. We had a little emergency union meeting that was like, wow, that's worse than we thought it could ever possibly be. Because we were, like, kind of banking on this. They have this little, like, anti-discrimination policy in all of the handbooks and on the website, and this directly goes against it. So we were like, oh my god, this is a lot. We had a little emergency union meeting. Halfway through that meeting, I got a text from Shanna that was like, do you still have access to your work emails? And I was like, yes. So it was kind of a kerfuffle of one of our comrades running back to their house and, like, downloading all of these things because we were all like, are they gonna lay everyone off? What's happening here? And the next morning, Shanna and Imogen got this email that was, like, basically firing them, but not actually firing them. It was saying, we don't need your in-person services, but you have to be on call for the expected length of your notice. You do not have access to your email, the Google Drive, the Slack, any of it. Which is a really funny way of firing someone without having to pay unemployment.
Yeah, so you're fired, but you're not fired.
Yeah, pretty much. And they were not allowed back in the building, which is wild.
So just practically taking them off the schedule and being like, oh, well, by the way, you're still technically on the payroll, so no unemployment?
Yeah, pretty much.
Incredible.
I mean, they were both salaried, so they did get their expected salary through the end of it, which is cheaper than unemployment because everyone is underpaid.
Sounds right. Sounds right.
But after that, so that was their email. They got that email on the 1st of July. And I went into work, I, like, did all my stuff. I sent an email that was like, this is my last day, I'm not coming back. Because I was like, this is the final straw for me. I cannot keep doing this.
Oh, did you tell them? Sorry. You skipped the bit where Jen sent a message to the group chat, like, one day after, like the 2 messages were basically next to each other, where Shanna said, hey guys, I'm resigning, it's been amazing working here, love you, bye. And then the next message from the next day was Jen basically saying, hey, so Shanna and Imogen won't be returning in their official capacities as managers. And basically not telling us that they got fired, like, as if we aren't all queer and friends and know that they got fired. Basically tried to gaslight us or something.
Oh, the gaslight gatekeep girl boss.
Oh, it's prevalent in this organization.
Yeah, we do like to joke that the admin are the gaslight, the gatekeep, and the girl boss. But
the true titles.
The true titles. After I left, I sent a message in Slack that was like, I'm leaving because of admin's transphobia, homophobia, all that. Jen deleted my message.
Wow.
I lost access to everything. I got no reply to my email that was like, if you want to talk about it, you can reach out. They did not. And like the next week I had people being like, are you still working here? And I was like, no. Which was very funny. She like didn't tell anyone that I had quit, which is a choice. And then she took down all of the pride flags and all of the Justice for Bernardo posters.
Yeah, no. So the one flag that was hung up in the break room hallway for like basically only us staff to see, it like you nailed it down to the wall with a sign behind it that said, "Taking down this flag is a homophobic act."
Listen, I was feeling very petty.
It's
I still
so
felt
valid.
that because Sherry was like, "Was this you?" And I was like, "Perhaps."
Really? Oh my god.
No, I would not call that petty, first of all. I think that's awesome. It's that kind of consistency, trying to hold people accountable for those kind of actions, especially people who purport themselves to support the LGBT community and, you know, different progressive values, and then just, you know, it's like talking the talk without walking the walk. And
Yeah, they took down the
Sherry
pride.
thinks-
Oh, go ahead.
I think Sherry thinks that the G in LGBT stands for gun-toting whatever, because that was what she said.
No, it stands for girl boss.
Girl boss.
Okay, this is like not necessarily relevant, but it is extremely funny. So we have a lot of like local art markets here, which is very cool. One of the bigger ones is called the Yard Sale, and it's hosted in someone's backyard, front yard. It's so cool. My friend was vending, so I went and visited, and Shanna, the former store manager, was also there. Like, a lot of people who were former and current employees of Clever Octopus were there. So, and the ABD had a tent, which was very fun. So I went.
Can we talk about the name? I'm sorry. We have talked this far about the ABD program without talking about the name. Listen, it's got to come out once during the podcast. We can call it the ABD program every other time, but the name that they chose for this program is Infinite Tentacle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
There's no other way to spin it.
Why is it an infinite tentacle, though? I'm so confused.
Octopuses have arms.
You know,
Infinite arms?
They're really dead set on octopi having tentacles. They don't. Fun fact. They have arms. Anyway, yeah. The good old infinite tentacle. I know someone who calls it engorged tentacle, which I think is very funny.
Engorged tentacle.
Engorged tentacle. I personally like to call it the porn corner because it does sound like a porn shop name.
It does.
Also, like, it's the corner of the store where the seamstress like textile work happens to make all of the stuff. It really is the porn corner.
It really is the porn corner. But like, once again, genuinely, I love the ABD folks so much. They are so cool, so nice. There's like 4 of them. I think they're some of the coolest people ever. The name of the program, so good. Anyway, so ABD had a tent, so I went and said hi, and it was one of the seamstresses and Jen. Jen was sitting on the ground, like, making dog toys, which also never sell. And I was like, oh, hey, how's it going? And Jen, like, looked up at me like a deer in headlights and then looked back down and ignored me the entire time. And that happened to every single person from Clever Octopus who went to the tent to say hi.
Wow.
Like, I had a nice civil conversation with the seamstress who was there, who I don't know if they're comfortable being named, so I'm just not going to. We had a perfectly civil conversation, but Jen was over there, like, radiating bad vibes at me. It was so funny. That's my whole story. I'm so sorry. It was not relevant, but I think it's very funny.
No, I think it definitely gives a lot of context.
Yeah, no, and all of these details about it, because a lot of times people who, like, are going to go start a union drive or even just trying to organize at the most like basic level, they're not going to realize the kind of animosity that they're going to get from management. I certainly didn't when Jon and I were organizing at No Evil Foods. I had no idea what I was in for. And just little interactions like that, I think, paint a broader picture of the way that management will interact with you, because, you know, you can walk up and be the friendliest person in the world and they're still gonna like not acknowledge you and treat you like your dog shit. And I think that's actually a really relevant story, honestly.
Yeah, it's very interesting. They, oh boy, let's see. So I think we were talking about the original like reasons that we started unionizing, leading up to that video that you saw, the reel of that fantastic speech. Elodie did such a good job. I am so. So that was the 1 week notice. We had a walkout on, I think, July 5th.
July 5th? Hang on, let me check the calendar. It was July 6th. Yeah. So basically, yeah, it was so funny. We had a staff meeting the day before. Like, it was our first ever like store staff meeting, our monthly staff meeting, where we didn't have Shanna and Imogen as the managers running the meeting because they were not fired, and have not been in the store for like a week at least. And so it was just Shanna and Jen running that meeting, and all of us. It was so uncomfortable because basically at some point during this shoddy meeting, Sherry basically changed the conversation to say like, okay, let's talk about signage, and then started like basically tiptoeing about the reasons that the pride flags came down. And so me and Frank were, you know, trans femme, trans mask solidarity, trying to ask, like, hey, so you're trying to give us the reason that you took them down because they're political and nonprofits can risk losing their funding or status as a nonprofit by being political. Yeah, it's not true. Like, that's the thing that they gave. They were basically afraid after the Roe v. Wade ruling that something might happen next in order for, you know, pride flags to become a nonprofit demoter thing. And they were just afraid of laws that don't exist.
Also, that's not, so nonprofit, they can lose their status, but the only political thing that they are not allowed to do is support a specific candidate monetarily.
Well, yeah, that was my understanding of it. Like, having a pride flag up, they were worried.
It's not political.
I'm so confused. They were their stated reasoning was that Roe versus Wade got overturned, which of course is a whole other horrifying subject in itself. But they used that to justify taking down pride flags because they thought the pride flags were next. That doesn't even make sense.
Something like that.
What?
We tried to ask them questions, and they just kind of like sidestepped and dodged around the fact that, yeah, they did really just want to allow homophobes and gun-toting whatevers to come in and buy like $3 tubes of paint without hindrance or any idea of like, oh, like there's a pride flag, I should leave. Like, none of that.
Right, like, I love hearing that my friends and coworkers' lives are worth less than a half-used bottle of paint. That's really cool.
Well, yeah, shouldn't the standard be to make, you know, to be more inclusive? And if, you know, the gun-toting whatever homophobes want to come in and get their paint, they can look at the pride flags and like it, or they can fucking leave. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's
it blows
what
my
one
mind.
would assume in the year 2022,
Jesus
but
Christ.
Apparently Sherry Gibb has not gotten on board quite yet.
Oh, we love them.
Yeah.
All of admin are white women, so they like to hide behind that, and they're like, well, we can't be like problematic because we face misogyny. And it's like, okay.
That's not how that works.
They were like so upset about the pride flags, but we still have a sticker in the door window that says woman-owned business. And it's not a business. and nobody owns it. It's a nonprofit, and that's not political enough for them to do anything about that. But, you know, queer people, yeah, just like throw that fucking flag in the trash. Why not? We don't need to worry about that.
Well, and it's still on the website too. That's what confuses me. Like the flags were taken down, but you still have it on the website.
Oh man, I didn't even know. That's really funny.
Well, when you type it in on Google, it pops up and it says LGBTQ friendly business or something like that.
They fucking advertise themselves that way. It's incredible knowing this.
They're on the LGBT Board of Commerce in Salt Lake City, which is a lot.
Yeah.
I wonder what that Board of Commerce thinks.
Yeah.
We are at our
Something tells me they support the union busting. I don't know anything. That's just a hot take.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we have yet to reach out to the Board of Commerce and be like, yeah, so actually, they actively and consistently misgender every single person on staff.
Yeah, literally,
they are the worst.
Let me ask another question. You had mentioned it earlier about the pay. So would you say that the starting pay is anything close to a living wage for the area?
No.
No.
So I started in 2020. When I started, it was $9 an hour.
In 2020?
In 2020,
Holy
it was $9
shit.
an hour until you're fully trained, which was 3 months. And then you bumped up to $10 an hour.
Ooh, making that big money now.
Yeah, I started in August of 2021 with $12 an hour, and I have since gotten up to $13 an hour. Yeah, so I guess I should I go back to like what that Tuesday meeting before the walkout was?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so Sherry said, like, let's talk about signage, and basically they tried doing a lot of very, like, flimsy arguments to tell us, and, like, in very obviously careful lawyered words, that the pride flags were a liability for the nonprofit, and that we could lose money and lose our jobs and lose the nonprofit itself if we keep the flags up and, like, the wrong law gets passed or something like that. And basically, me and Frank, you know, trans femme, trans mask solidarity co-workers back then, we were basically tag teaming, asking the question, like, hey, so, like, are you telling me my identity is political? Like, I didn't choose to be trans. I didn't choose to, like, live like this. And so, like, are you telling me that, like, the flag that represents what's essentially, like, love and identity incarnate is political? And, like, we asked them that, like, very specifically, and they just kind of really sidestepped around, like, giving a straight answer about it. Like, it seemed very obvious that, like, they were just, like, being bigots, honestly. Like, it came to this point where Jen began talking about, like, her own, I guess, bits of oppression that she has experienced throughout her life, and she brought up her dad and his Cuban upbringing, and it just really didn't make any sense to me in context or out of context, or just listening back to the recording, why someone who was basically my boss was trying to tell me that the reason that I couldn't be represented through a flag in the store that makes me feel safe, the reason that couldn't happen was, like, because she was also oppressed, and her dad had to go through so much stuff just to get her to the place that she is. And, like, when your boss is telling you about the oppression that she's received, like, and her family has received,
yeah,
they're not caring about you. They're not, like, showing you respect. They're telling you, I was oppressed at that front counter, so you're gonna get the chance to do that too, and you kind of just get to deal with it, and we can stand in solidarity in being oppressed. But the thing that I said was, like, just straight up, I said, I don't want to be brave, I just want to be safe.
Yeah.
And me and Frank really, like, it was all of us in that meeting. We were all thinking about that walkout that was going to happen the next morning, but, like, we were all just really trying to understand genuinely, like, why would you do this? This doesn't actually make sense. And it really there was no good way to like frame what they were doing, and it became really obvious. And then the meeting was like 20 minutes overtime, and then they were just like, okay, let's just call it a wrap. We're overtime. And so then we left, and then had a pre-walkout meeting right after that meeting, and just like practiced what we were going to do, what we were going to say, and everything. And so the next morning, Wednesday, we clock in at 10 a.m. Me and it was me and Annika, and we clock in and basically start the shift as usual, get ready to open up the store, and around 10:45 or so, we all gather in the back of the store, like all of us coworkers and everything. We are all there. Every single one of us store staff who work that store floor at Clever Octopus, we're sitting in that huddle in the back of the store, ready to go in and march on our boss. And so we did, and it was an incredible thing. Let me tell you, like so much of I was the one who did the speech, and I didn't anticipate, I think, actually getting to give the speech. I was just kind of the one who kept saying like, oh my god, it would be so good to just march on the boss and tell her what's what. And so I did, and I marched into the office first, and Sherry was like, oh hey Sammy, what you need? And then like you can see it on her face as Annika, who was also on shift, walks in, and then, oh, hey, like, there's another person who wasn't on shift who walked in, and then, oh, more and more people are piling into this room. Oh, okay. It is everybody, every single worker that works this store is standing in this room right now, and you can, like, see it on her voice.
I was going to say that had to feel good, like.
In her body language, like, I was shaking in my boots a little bit. Like, I had my badass outfit and everything, and I was pumped and amped, like, absolutely ready to do this, and I was still, like, kind of scared, but, like, knowing just how utterly terrified she was, knowing that she did not have a damn clue that this was coming, it was so utterly incredible. I highly recommend, if you're thinking about unionizing out there, please just think about the look on your boss's face when you do that moment, and just, like, let that motivate you. Just let that motivate you. And so, it was Sherry who was there, and basically she kind of panicked and was like, hey, like, I want someone else here with me. Like, I'm allowed to do that. And our union reps, Bennett and Devin, who I think they're comfortable being named, they were there as well, standing us up in solidarity. And so basically all of us coworkers were there, and two people that Sherry did not recognize. And she was on the phone trying to, like, call Jen, asking, like, when are you going to get here? Like, are you almost here? And we gave her, like, 10 minutes, basically, to get someone else in the room with her. Like, that was all we were going to allot her, because then we were just going to start reading. And so she asks, like, hey, who are you two? And they were like, we're with the industrial workers of the world. And Sherry just, like, clammed up so beautifully, and just, she knew exactly why we were there and what we were doing. And it was incredible. And so we kind of just got sick of waiting for the 10 minutes. We had Ashley in the room as well, the other admin. And so we started giving the speech. I started talking. And so Sherry literally plugged her ear so that she could hear who she was talking to on the phone. Every single one of us workers was standing in that office with her, and she chose to listen to her lawyer husband on the phone, or Jen, or whoever it was, rather than listen to all of us collectively speaking to her as a whole. And it wasn't that surprising, I suppose, but I will say it was very disappointing.
How do you get to that point where you can where you have that cohesion in the workplace, where, like, were you all friends beforehand, or, like, was there just so much, like, resentment in the building that everybody was just like, we've all had enough, let's just go do this?
We're all queer, we're all artists, we're all friends. Like, it just kind of meshed together. Like, they hired this, like, league of super friends to, like, run their fun little, like, art store that diverts waste from landfills. And then they had the audacity to be like, no, they're just, like, little workers. They never talk to each other. They never have ideas. Like, really? Are you sure about that?
I just love how organic this entire thing sounds. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's so cool hearing a story about where that cohesion is already there, because sometimes like that's half the battle, is finding that solidarity with your coworkers, and it just sounds like it just clicked with all of you guys. And I don't know. I'm just in awe of it. I think what you're doing is fucking fantastic. I really want to have a conversation with Sherry. I'm about to invite her on the show. I got a couple questions for her.
Tell me how it goes.
So far, she has not responded to anyone reaching out.
Oh Lord, she's not gonna want to talk to me, but I will reach out to her because I got a couple questions for her specifically. But
number one, how dare you?
Yeah, number one, how dare you? Oh my God, that's funny. So here I have a question. So there's so many unions out there. Was there any one specific reason why you chose the IWW, or?
They were the first person who responded to me.
Gotcha. All right.
So after the meeting, I went to the library because I did not have a functioning laptop at the time, and I do now, thank God. And I reached out to the nonprofit professionals of the world. I don't think I reached out to the CWA, but it was definitely on my list. The IWW, just a bunch of random ones. And the IWW was the one that was like, oh, yeah, we're happy to help. And I have loved working with them so much.
Oh, they're incredible people.
Highly recommend.
So the March on the Boss, was that their idea, or did y'all come up with that on your own?
I think it's their idea.
Yeah, it was a result of us absolutely stepping up the timetable right after that homophobe, gun-toting whatever thing that Sherry said. We were we need to act now. We cannot wait to submit our cards for the election, and we're legally protected as a union if we all walk out together. Every single one of us, that is a legally protected union act, even if we aren't a legally recognized union, even if admin doesn't recognize the union, we are still allowed to do that as workers. And so we did.
And you had kind of touched on this, but what other kinds of tactics are they using to kind of bust up the union?
Yeah, anything we haven't discussed yet?
They have hired, from what I heard, 3 lawyers now.
3?
That's what Bennett said. I do not know if that is accurate. 3 different union-busting lawyers, as far as I can tell, from Holland and Hart, which I think we talked about briefly being, a very union-busting firm.
Oh, yeah, no, Sherry literally sent us the link, in the email that was hey, we were sorry to hear about all of these, going-ons that you mentioned in your walkout or whatever. So we hired an independent investigator, proceeds to give us the link to a union-busting website, Lawyer People. Literally, you scroll down on the front page, and it's we pride ourselves in working really good on
keeping
union
businesses
busting.
union-free.
Actually, you said it was an independent. They said it was an independent law firm. I actually pulled this quote up. "We have decades of proven success helping businesses stay union-free."
Yo, that's the one. Right, and they're no, but it's totally not related to the union, guys. No, just do one-on-one interviews with this lawyer.
Wait, they want you to do one-on-one interviews with these fucking lawyers?
They emailed us to ask.
What?
No one wants to. No one is saying yes. Absolutely not.
Okay, good. I would almost be curious to be what are these people gonna say to you? What is I can't even imagine how that conversation would go. It'd probably be funny. Y'all should go do a march on the union.
Actually, can we get the lawyer on the podcast? Because we'll interview them.
Absolutely. I want to know what the lawyer has to say. I want to hear this.
Yeah, they're more than welcome to come on here. We'll talk to them.
Absolutely. I am so curious as to what they have to say. Yeah, so let's see. They cut pay, they cut hours and changed hours dramatically.
Oh yeah, I had to change my therapy appointments from now on without Yeah, it's miserable. I had Thursdays off for literally almost the whole time that I have worked here, and then Sherry was well, times are a-changin', time to mess with the whole schedule, so then my little worker bees, the ones that are left after we have chewed up and spat out everyone else, can work on my timetable now.
Yeah, which is bullshit.
I'm getting real sick of Sherry. I'm getting real sick of Sherry, and I don't even work there.
Oh, you're telling me.
Just, like, this just sounds so
Welcome to my
terrible.
club. So, this is, I don't even know if this is like, so first of all, aside from union busting tactics, including illegally cutting pay hours, hiring multiple lawyers instead of paying their workers, I don't think they've gone into like one-on-one meetings, but they're definitely trying to butter everyone up, which is so uncomfortable. Just like lots of shit like that, like, and just kind of stalling and hoping it'll all go away, which is their favorite tactic.
Wait, so yeah, that was actually one of my next questions is cutting pay. Like, I understand, like, any job can cut hours, and that's, you know, that doesn't technically fall under a crime for the most part, depending on the situation. But is it even legal to cut pay like that?
No.
I was going to say, that does not sound right. Tell me there's a ULP out against them for that.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
we
All right.
the ULP like immediately because they cut. So store staff make like $12.75. Teachers make, I think, $15 per hour for teaching and $20 an hour for prep, which is, I love the teachers so much. They are incredibly cool people. I consider both of them like relatively close friends. They cut them down, but also, why are they getting paid way more than everyone else on staff? What? They cut the prep time, the prep hours from $20 an hour to $17 an hour, and they cut it from having like relatively free range for prep, which is good because they didn't get to choose the topic or the timeline for what they were teaching. They cut it down to, if you're teaching, you can only spend half of the expected class time doing prep work. So if you're teaching a 10-hour course, you can only spend 5 hours doing prep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So, can you tell me, are there any other ULPs currently out against them that you can elaborate on, or that you feel comfortable
Well, I
elaborating
only
on?
hope they're coming soon.
Okay.
Right. There's not really any that I know of. I think this was the big one. Our two lovely cohorts at the IWW have been working very hard to try and figure out like how to file one for the just blatant transphobia. It's excruciating.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's, oof.
I mean, I just think anybody listening to this with half a brain could even see like that clearly constitutes as discrimination, or at least a hostile work environment, just between the misgendering and the whole pride flag debacle. Like, there's no way somebody can look at that and be like, yep, this is a healthy workplace. Like, it's, oh man.
Yeah, no, it's really spicy.
I feel like there's a lot of really good information here for anybody thinking about unionizing. Just based on your experience, well, two questions. Do either of you have any previous organizing, and what kind of organizing experience, and what kind of advice would you give to anybody out there who might be thinking about doing this, just based on what you've learned so far?
Sammy, do you want to go first on this one?
Ooh, yeah, sure. So I have not had any experience before this, but, like, I did know before we started that union's good, generally. And so, I guess advice I would give to other people trying to start their own unions would be, okay. So there's this acronym that you're probably going to hear a lot about if you're trying to start a union. It's AEIOU: agitate, educate, inoculate, organize, and uplift/unionize. And that's a very general kind of rule of thumb for the unionizing process in general, but also with like, it also goes down to even like little conversations with your co-workers. Like like it's something I really feel like I fall back on a lot even now when I have such a strong bond with my coworkers. Like unionizing, I won't sugarcoat it, is a very tiring process, to say the least. It's a lot of time and effort and energy that is outside of your work hours, just for the express purpose of meeting back up with your coworkers to organize with those coworkers and make things better, hopefully, eventually, in the long run. And there's a lot of moments where it is really easy to feel defeated in it, where it's really easy to kind of get yourself in that headspace of like, oh, this is hardly even worth it. This business just like, this isn't worth my time. I should just quit. And so many times I've found myself kind of in that headspace, and just remembering that my coworkers are out there feeling that same way as me, and like are able to like relate to me, like are just as in this as I am, really being able to fall back on them, just to talk to them, and like literally just talking about the like agitate, like oh, like man, work is so bad right now, and just having that like, oh, like that shared like, oh yeah, like everything like sucks right now. And then like by the end of the conversation, you're basically able to like uplift and organize, and like like just feel more connected with your coworkers than you did before. And it's so important. My advice is to build that bond with your coworkers if you don't have it already. Like you're going to be spending a lot of time outside of work, and you really deserve to be like friends with each other, because you're going through this very difficult like arduous process of your boss basically trying to prove that you're not worth this, and you all collectively just kind of have to say, no, we are worth this, we are worth this much. And like that is a process for sure, but it is absolutely worth it. And yeah, so just check in with your people, tell them you love them, make sure that you're all doing okay, and like that, like if there's anything y'all need from each other, to like let it be known, and to just show that genuine love and appreciation for them, and to build those bonds strong, because that is really the underlying like current of a union, is like, if they can't divide us, they can't stop us.
Very well said.
That is, yes, first of all, very well said. And I'm so glad that you said that, because that in itself takes it from, man, this job sucks, to, okay, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And
Literally,
it's just, it's so important. And I'm so glad that you guys took the time to sit down and talk to us. I think there's so much valuable information in here. This story is absolutely fascinating, just from an organizing perspective, with the way that management is conducting themselves. I want to extend an open invitation to Sherry, because I got a couple questions, but
Don't forget Holland and Hart.
yeah, Holland and Hart too. They can come on. But I do have one more question. How can our listeners support you? Where can they go to find more information, and how can we keep up with more developments?
Yeah, so we have our union Instagram, which is Clever Octo Union which is just the full at. I keep wanting to like say it like an email. It is not an email. We have an email.
We'll link it too. We'll link everything too.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so the Instagram is fairly active. I have been taking a little bit of break from doing union stuff, but I'm going to start.
We all have.
It's been, we had a rally last Saturday, which had a ton of like time, blood, sweat, and I think at least one person was literally crying about it, which is very not great. But,
Self-care is important too. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. Going back to the unionizing advice, take care of yourself first and foremost. The union is great, but you need to be able to be there to do the union.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can follow our Instagram, which is Clever Octo Union. We also have our email, which is cleveroctounion@proton.me. We also have a link tree, which has I believe it has our GoFundMe, which is going towards strike funds to cover wages lost from shuffled hours, cut pay, any sort of retaliation that admin might take, and as well as some compensation for time and materials that are going into these efforts. we have I think we have a blog that we are hopefully going to have up and running so we can have longer form info about the unionizing effort and just general unionizing advice. It's still in the making though, so stay tuned.
And I think on that note, we're going to wrap up. I do want to say thank you so much, Logan and Samantha, for coming on here and taking the time to talk to us, to talk to the audience about what's going on with you guys and everything that's been happening. I would love to do a follow-up episode, maybe in a couple weeks. We can kind of see where things are at and how things have progressed. Because you folks have been great, and we support you 100%, and we are rooting for you all the way.